We got this email yesterday from James who says, I want to thank publicly Shelby Elias from United Wholesale Lending. He was willing to take some time out of his day and call me personally after I had filled out the contact form on his website. Initially, we were talking about purchasing a home. Then I asked for advice about side hustles. I mentioned him being on Rad Radio talking about side hustles. He offered some great advice, which I certainly took heed to. He's obviously a sound business mind, whereas I'm more of an artsy type. Something I've learned is always be willing to listen to someone who has a better understanding of a subject than you do.
Aww.
Sounds simple, but many people let their ego get in the way. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
You do that.
I do.
You did that. That's how you sought out. What was that one story? That's how you sought out how to figure out buying a new car. You had a friend who was like a general sales manager.
Yeah.
At a car. He said, how do I do this? And that's the right way to go.
It is.
We're going to talk about, too, you've got some interesting things about what we call cash flow, but I want to throw some things at you. All of this came out in the last week because I got two questions after I throw all this at you. Confidence amongst builders in the U.S. housing market plunged more than expected in August to the lowest level since COVID. The number of home sales cancellations soared to a 2-year high as buyers retreated from the market amid rising mortgage rates and steep prices. Sales of existing U.S. homes dropped for the 6th straight month. One industry economist said we're witnessing a housing recession. Bill Adams, chief economist at Comerica Bank, says painfully high inflation costs have proven to be a lethal combination for the housing market, forcing buyers to pull back, and says housing has gone from a tailwind to a headwind for the U.S. economy. One more. Pending home sales slipped 1% from June to July. The drop in sales was smaller than previous months, which did lead Lawrence Young, the chief economist for the Realtors Association, to say we may be at the bottom of the housing market. So 2 questions. The first one is, lots of people who are in the housing market right now are gun shy and freaked out from the 2008 crash.
Yeah.
Can you tell them we're not there when they see all of these headlines?
Yeah, I mean, we're not there. It's just a simple, it's simply put because what we're looking at is the rise of interest rate is making it less affordable. So there's less buyers and there's also a lot of fear in the market. So what I've been telling everybody is you need to go after the scared sellers that, you know, are worried about what's going on and that are going to offload their properties. So you have to buy in a good location, right? So you want to find the location that you like, which in the previous markets you could not find a house in those locations, right? And now you can. Then you have to buy a house that is under market value, right? So get yourself a good deal. And then you have to buy a property that you can add value to. So when you buy a new home, that's the scariest purchase of all. So if you look at the new home sales, of course, because you're buying a property where they're not even offering any discounts, the builder has a certain margin that they have to make, and you can't even improve the property, or none of your neighbors can improve the property to gain any sweat equity. So if I was a new buyer in today's market, I would not be going to try to buy a brand new home. The new home people probably hate me right now, but that is the scariest buy. So I don't think that we're in a position where the market is going to crash at all. But obviously, interest rates went up, affordability went up. So what we're trying to do is kind of find the happy medium between what people are willing to pay and what the market will allow.
And so the second question is, you know, we talk all the time on a variety of things. Don't try to time the market. But do you agree with this economist that we may be at or near the bottom and that housing will recover as the year ends, or are you not prepared to say that yet?
I'm not. It could potentially go down. But what I'm telling all of my clients and how we're finding good deals is by making sure that you're negotiating a good enough deal up front to where if it does dip a little, you're totally protected. And you have the ability to add the value. So you do a kitchen remodel for $20,000 and you make $75,000 in value. So if you hit those two combinations, you're in good shape. But what I do know is that once they announce everything is good and housing is back on the rise, sellers aren't giving you any deal anymore. They're going to go, yeah, right, I'm not giving you a deal. But right now they are. And so you could score yourself some good deals.
We got this email just now from somebody that's obviously a RADTV viewer, watches us at members.radradio.com. And during the commercial break, sometimes you get the behind the scenes of what's going on. And this is something Shelby was talking about when he got here. He says, my daughter had a post go viral once with over 160,000 likes. She started getting requests from companies to post their content under that post and got paid. Good job. Shelby, because people can follow Shelby on Instagram at Shelby Elias, Elias, and you were showing me a couple posts, but there's one in particular you could just blew up.
Yeah,
and the numbers just kept ticking up like it was a slot machine win.
That's exactly what it feels like. I've never had that happen, but a couple days ago, I posted a really good piece of content about how to buy an Airbnb property in the next 30 days, and you don't even need to use your income to qualify. You only use the rent of the property. And I literally thought my phone was broken. I'm like, what is going on? This thing is just lighting up. And it got over 100,000 views. I have one going right now, too, that I posted this morning, how to raise your credit score 100 points. And it's still going right now. It has over 100,000 views. It's wild.
And Shelby's he's constantly posting this stuff, and all you have to do is be following him on Instagram, which is free. And Shelby Elias, Elias, and now he's blowing up. He's going to be even more popular if that's possible.
My sister-in-law lives in Arizona, and she's learning a lot from you. She's been watching you. Cool. She's probably one of their house was on the market, but they didn't need to sell it. They were just like, if it sells, great, you know, because they do have plans on what they're going to do in the next few years. They're like, we'll just push those plans up. If it doesn't, oh well, because where she's at, the market was like crazy, and it was totally like seller's market, and then just quickly became not that, but they're not willing to budge, you know, and then just watching you, and she's like, well, this isn't our time because we're not budging. We don't have to sell. And I'm like, you're in a good spot, you know, if you don't have to. But yeah, just thank you. She's like, oh my God. And her realtor's like, where are you hearing all that? She's like,
well, this is the thing.
Her realtor about you.
We've talked about this. People love this about you and people in general. If you're not always selling and you're providing valuable information and honest information, you're more trustworthy, and this is what people love. Yeah. Now we just got this note. You were just mentioning the one now that's going nuts is the credit score one. Okay, so she wrote in. She says, "Please don't use my name. I'm ashamed." She says, "My credit just dropped 70 points, and I'm crying writing this."
Oh, sweetie.
I decided to get a credit card a few months ago, and it was just a $500 credit card, and I wasn't going to use it to up my credit. As we all know, times are hard, so I had to use it, and I missed the first payment, and my credit plummeted 70 points. I went ahead and I paid 75% off. Can I recover from that 70-point drop in the next 3 months when we apply for a house?
So here's what I would do first off is call the company and come up with some sort of an excuse on why you didn't get it. In your instance, if it was your very first payment, I would say, hey, I didn't get my very first statement, or, you know, something like, hey, it's my first payment. Like, please give me a break. Do not send this to the credit bureau. Can you please give me a deletion letter saying that, you know, I wasn't late. Help me out here. So then once you get that letter, you'll send it in to all 3 credit bureaus, and they'll actually remove it. But you need the letter from them stating that it wasn't late. Okay, so that's what I would do there. And then the post that I did, what I would recommend you doing is be an authorized user for somebody that has really good credit. So what that will do is you'll call maybe your mom and say, hey, Mom, can you add me to your credit card, the one that has the longest standing relationship with that creditor and the best credit, you know, score. You want to make sure they don't have bad credit because you'll inherit that. But if they have good credit, when you add on as an authorized user, you don't even need the card. You don't need to use the card. But when you get added to it, all that 20 years of good credit history comes over to you. And now it makes it look like you have really good credit, and it'll shoot your credit score up. Another good hack, too, is to do this for your kids. If you have a kid that's 16 years old, 17 years old, they have no credit, add them onto your cards. Make sure you don't give them a card. But it will give them excellent credit, and that's a massive leg up in the world.
Since she wrote in, we were talking about. Let me just throw a few more of these in, and then we're going to shift to, as she alluded to, hard times for everybody. How do we get cash? How do you have cash flow? But Daniel wrote in and said, I had always thought renting was better. Now that I'm older, I've been considering the whole prospect of purchasing a home. My credit isn't great. It's slightly under 600. I'm working to raise my credit score, and I would like to know, do I have any options right now, or should I wait for my credit? What I understand about homeownership is that the payments for the loan can be as much or sometimes even lower than what I'm paying for rent. Yeah, well, that we've talked about endlessly. Yeah. And you're paying somebody else's mortgage. Mm-hmm. But what about the credit thing? He's working to raise his credit score. He's under 600. Should he just wait this out until he gets to a certain number? Or
yeah, watch some of my credit tip videos and stuff. You want to get your credit score above like 640, 620 range. You can make something happen. But yeah, you want to get your credit score up. Make sure your income's in a good position. And make sure that you have some money for a down payment.
One more from Scott. He says, due to losing my job due to COVID, my credit cards got maxed out to survive. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. A family member is giving me a loan to pay off the credit cards. Besides available credit, everything on my credit score is okay. I'm at 650. When does credit rating get recalculated after I clear my debt?
I can do a rapid rescore for you, and it will recalculate within 3 to 5 days. But another thing that I would mention is anyone that knows that you're going, like say you have good credit right now, maybe a 700 score, and you know, shoot, I'm going to need to max out my credit cards. What you need to do before you start maxing out your cards is call the credit card companies and say, can I increase my limit? Now, when you increase your limit, you want to increase the limit before you use all the cards, not after, or else they won't do it. So you call in and say, hey, I have a $10,000 limit right now. Can I have a $15,000 or $20,000 limit? And then when you max those cards out, it doesn't look like it's maxed out because now you have a $20,000 limit. You only use $10,000, and that won't affect your credit score.
Phone number is 888-989-9811. We're with Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com. You can email us, rad@radradio.com. So what exactly is cash flow? How do you get it? What does it mean? How do you break it down?
So cash flow in real estate in particular, there's many ways to get cash flow, but in real estate in particular, this is what I've tried to do my entire life, is generate enough cash flow to be able to live on passive income. And that's what's cool about real estate investing, is that you can calculate what cash flow is. So here are different sources of income. So you will add all sources of income together. So if you have a fourplex and you have laundry, coined laundry, that's going to add to your cash flow. If you have a vending machine in a fourplex, that's going to add to the cash flow. At my Tahoe Keys house, right? My dock adds to my cash flow, right? Because I can rent my dock out. Storage. If you have a place that can, have storage, you can do a storage garage, or some people that I know actually allow people to park their boats on their property, and they make money from that. Horse stall rentals, make money for that.
Yeah.
So you want to add all sources of income together, including the monthly rent that you're receiving, and you subtract it by all of your expenses, your mortgage payment, your electricity, your internet, and then the remaining balance, after you add up all the sources of income, subtract all the expenses, the remaining balance is your cash flow. And what that is that you're making money while you sleep, If
somebody's hearing these, and maybe even a specific one, they go, well, God, we have all this room. Somebody could park a boat here. How did they get the word out? How do they, it used to be, the old days was classified ads in the newspaper. How do you tell people this, especially if maybe you're not on social media, you don't have 100,000 followers?
Yeah. So it's really easier than you would think. So for instance, I live out in the country, and people post literally signs right on the power pole that's right by my house, and it's like weed eating service, or fruit. And it's crazy. I literally call them. I'm like, hey, how much to weed eat my property? And they're like, oh, $20 an hour. Yeah, sure. Can you show up Friday? Right on. So it could be that easy. You just post up a sign saying space available for, a boat. Or what I encourage a lot of my clients when we're buying property, I have a client that I'm going to show. It's a $2.5 million house in Loomis. And he's like, man, it's really above my budget. I said, okay, look, you got 2 amazing barns on this property. Let's think about the income that we can generate from renting these barns out. And he's like, oh man, I don't know if my wife will go for that. I go, hold on, you have 5 acres here. Let's see where the location of the barns is. You could create your own separate driveway for these barns. You are not going to hear these people at all. He's like, well, what would I rent it out for? I'm like, well, I went to an awesome 40th birthday party one time, and they rented it out for a private dinner. And it was an awesome time. It had a little bar out there. We all had dinner. We had an awesome night. And we probably rented it out for $2,500. His total mortgage payment's probably $4,500. If you do one event per month, it's paying almost your entire mortgage. So you just got to think about what you can do to earn cash flow.
I don't know if this is a law thing or not, but I know when you're talking about properties, if it's allowed in California, some folks we knew in Texas had, acres upon acres. And if you're going to go shooting in Texas, you either have to know people with property to go shooting, or you have to go to a gun range because 98% of the land people own, right? Not like here where you can just go up in the hills. And so there's a place we went to. I don't even know where the house was. That's how much land they, had, and had a shooting range. And it was a whole setup, and you could charge people to come out there to have that as their own time. So I don't know. I mean, that's another thing for other people that have land. I mean, I don't know if there's any different laws or set up.
You always have to check, but usually in a place in California where you're going to find that type of land, they're going to have looser restrictions in terms of what you can and can't do with the property, because you usually are so far away from your neighbors and things like that. Hello there, Jamie. Go ahead.
Hi. I have a question for Shelby. My question is, we're first-time investors, but we are just very small investors. We want to buy a rental property. What we're finding, our goal was to find a rental property in desirable school location and where we would want to live. What we're finding is we can't afford that. So we're looking in more or less desirable school locations and older places, and I'm kind of feeling defeated, like I wouldn't be investing in something that would be beneficial to us in the long run. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. So I have properties on both sides of the spectrum. I have smaller properties that, are in less desirable areas. And what I can tell you is you just have to learn about the market, So one of the areas that I invest in is in Broderick, right next to downtown Sacramento. I really like the mayor in West Sacramento. I think that he does some great things. So I did some investigation there.
Did you just shout out the mayor of West Sac?
I did.
That's great.
That just came out. But I like the guy. He's great.
No, I love that.
And he's doing great things for West Sac. And that whole bridge district is awesome. Where the barn is, and there's a lot of really good stuff. So that's why I invest in that area. But it's lower income housing. The properties are like $350,000. But you look at the dynamic of the renter, right? And the renters that live there, they're great renters because they're going to treat your house like it's their house. They have zero desire to ever buy. And my renters that have been in there for like 12 years.
Jeez.
So
like
they're
home.
Literally going to pay off my house for me. So there's just different dynamics. You just have to work with somebody that's going to help you sift through and make sure you're making a good choice.
And you're that guy.
I'm that guy.
Hello there, Eddie. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I am currently between homes and looking to leave. Me and my wife and kids are leaving the state. We're going to Ohio. Now, I've purchased and sold a few homes in the past, and I'm by no means an expert, but one thing that's always frustrated me tremendously is the fact that credit inquiries are the only ding I ever have on my credit. My credit has gone from a 798 about a month ago to a 770 about 2 weeks ago, and after one more inquiry, after I got my job in Ohio, got my offer letter to present to them, he ran us again, and now my credit score has gone all the way down to a 712. Is there any layman's terms you can break it down for me as to why it works that way?
Well, credit inquiries are typically bad because it looks like you're trying to obtain a lot of credit. But you can actually get credit inquiries removed. So if you work with a credit agency, or you can even call in to the credit bureaus and say, how do I get some of my inquiries removed? Then that will definitely help your score out.
And we should point out, when people work with you, you have a way of running their credit that isn't a ding.
Yeah, I have what's considered a soft pull.
Why doesn't everybody do that? Why is this guy, no offense to him, but why is he working with somebody who's dinging his credit every time?
I don't know, and that is really frustrating. Some lenders literally run people's credit 3 or 4 times. I don't know why.
What, are they not sure what they found? They need to triple check or something.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, what if I do this? Then they rerun it, and then they're like, oh, shoot, that didn't work. Okay, well, I'm going to wait 10 days and then run it and hope it gets a little bit better. And you're like, no, what are you doing? You're making their credit worse.
You got to work with the right people. Phone number is 888-989-9811. So back to cash flow and other ideas. What is a DSCR loan? Is this like way in the weeds and nobody can do this? What is this?
No, it's a great product. It's called a DSCR loan. And what it is it's meant for investors, okay? So what this loan product allows you to do is it won't take your own personal income into consideration at all. It allows you to finance up to 20 properties, and it uses current market rent instead of your income to qualify. So let me give you an example. Say you have to put 20% down on these because, again, you're buying an investment property. So this is to help investors buy more properties, okay? So we know a lot of investors are maybe self-employed and they can't qualify on their income because they write it all off, which is what you're supposed to do. This loan product recognizes that and says, hey, you know what? Let's base the loan on how much rent that this property brings in. So if you buy a fourplex, they want to see that the debt coverage, okay? So if you have a $4,000, let's for easy number's sake, let's say you have a $1,000 a month payment, you would need $800 in rent to be able to cover it. The lender looks at that and goes, oh, this is a no-brainer. The mortgage payment's only $1,000. It has $800 in rent. Let's give him the loan. The only thing we look at is his ability to put 20% down, and he needs at least a 640 credit score.
And you guys do these?
Yep.
Phone number is 888-989-9811. Go ahead, Abden.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call, guys.
What's up?
Shelby, me and my wife are first-time home buyers, and we're under contract right now to buy a brand-new home in the Roseville area. I just heard you mention that it wasn't a good time to do that, and I just had a couple of questions about, how soon we might be able to refinance to lower our payments. And also, it's a brand-new tract housing development. It's in a great school district area, and I just wanted to maybe give some advice about why it might not be a good time to buy a brand new home. They are offering a lot of incentives for us to purchase it. It was one of the last ones available that are going to be available in September. And so I just wanted to maybe get some of your thoughts and advice on that.
Yes. All right. So here we go. We're starting off. I knew that yeah. Anyways. Okay. So
you not only you got all those new home sellers, now you got the new home buyers all bajiggity
Like,
going,
oh,
wait.
God, what should I do?
So let's first off make one thing straight. Real estate is a long-term game, okay? Like we always say, you're not trying to time the market. If this is going to be a home that you're going to stay in for 5-10 years, you're going to be winning. So it's not like if your home value goes down and you go upside down that they foreclose on your house or anything. None of that happens. So you have nothing to worry about as long as you can afford the monthly payment. So base everything off of that monthly payment. There's also other variables there. Gets you in the school district that you want. You love having a new home. You can totally afford it. It's still a win, right? But I'm talking about if somebody wants to buy solely as an investment purchase, okay, then that might not be the best avenue to go because, for one, you can't improve that property. In a regular neighborhood, right, when your neighbor remodels their house and sells it for more because it's now remodeled or flipped, your house value goes up. Well, if you buy a home in a brand new community, no one can remodel their homes for like 10 years because they're all already remodeled. So you're only relying on the appreciation of the natural market conditions. Right now, we're going into a market where we're not going to see large market appreciation, right? We're seeing more of a stagnant market. And right now, it actually looks like it's going down because people were pricing homes so high before that there's some influx there because a seller is being unrealistic. Like, no, I want to sell my house for $450. And you're like, well, yeah, that was like 3 months ago. And you can't sell it for $450. Like, I don't care. I want to anyways. I want to try it. So they're listing high, and then now they're selling it for lower. So all the headlines are reading, market's going down. It's not necessarily going down. It's just these sellers are being unrealistic of their price because they're chasing what they thought they could have got. So in a brand new home community, you're paying top dollar. You need to understand that. You're paying the very most amount that this house, it's been equity stripped. They built it brand new. There's no way you can improve that house and generate sweat equity. So that's what I'm saying about that. So analyze it based on what is this going to do for your family, your life? Is this a long-term investment? And overall, can I afford my monthly payment? Okay.
Hello, Mackenzie. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Hi.
I currently just took over and I run a wedding chapel. It's completely owned by someone. It's their personal property and it's not as a business property. To purchase this place, would I take out a home loan or a business loan for it? I'm not sure what to do.
If the zoning is residential, then you can take out a regular loan. I would make sure it doesn't have like this humongous commercial sign out there that says wedding chapel. That's probably not going to work. But if it's zoned as a residential property, maybe it has ag zoning or something attached to it, but it's residential, then you would get a residential loan. Residential loans are better than commercial loans too, because they allow you to finance over 30 years and you can have a 30-year fixed. Commercial loans oftentimes are adjustable rates. They only allow you to keep the payment fixed for like 5 years. So I would go for a residential loan, and I could check that out for you.
By the way, if you're here to play Master Movies for Alice in Chains tickets, we're just holding Shelby a little bit longer. We'll get to you in a moment, but we got to get to this email on a similar subject, kind of sort of something you've talked about before. Anna wrote in and said, we've been renting our home for just over 2 years. The owner is willing to sell it to us. It needs everything redone from the roof to the floors. To keep details super short, are there any deals or benefits towards price we could look into, seeing how we've lived here and been taking care of the place? We're both first-time home buyers. You love this buy from the guy you're renting from.
Yes, I do. I think it's one of the best avenues that you can possibly have. So yes, call them directly, negotiate yourself a better deal. There is a proper way to do that, and I can help you do that. But that's the best way to get a deal. And I want to encourage every single other person out there, look for these deals. So look for the person that maybe is a hoarder. Maybe their family has somebody that's a hoarder. I'm dead serious. Those are the best deals. If you and everybody kind of knows somebody. Like, they're out there. I buy a lot of them. So
there's a whole show, so there are a lot of them
there
out there.
is. Yeah. And so find the properties in your network of your friends that are highly distressed properties, and call me and say, hey, even if you don't have the money to buy it, be like, hey, Shelby, I got this awesome deal. Let's partner on it. I'll partner with you. We'll find out a way to buy it and win together.
No, it's true. When my dad bought his second house, it was owned by a hoarder, and it was packed full with just stuff up from every room from floor to ceiling. And we were able to get a much cheaper deal because we took care of it and cleaned up the property.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This goes back to something you were talking about earlier with one of your clients. Jackie wrote in and says, because I'm crazy, I immediately Zillowed, if that's a word, the $2.5 million barn house in Loomis. Those are not typical barns. They're beautiful. I would rent one out for an event, tell your buyer to do it, and then share a picture of their sign that they post on a telephone pole with their contact info. show that to your buyer right there.
The property stuff is reminding me when we used to live out on property, like, and not everyone can do this. I couldn't. I think it's totally fine for you, but I'm a sucker. So there are people that, there are kids that want to be a part of 4-H, and you can be a part of 4-H and not raise animals, but there are those kids that want to, but they don't live on property. Mm-hmm. And so I know of folks that are like, you can raise your animal out on our property. Now you have to take care of it, and they charge them a fee to be able to, to come out and do that. And so, I mean, that's another way to raise money, or you could raise an animal for somebody and have them pay for that, and for because they want, good meat like that. Exactly.
All right. So we've circled back to cash flow. We just got this email from Angela. You mentioned renting out boats, or your boat slip, in your case, assets that you already have. We have a bunch of RVs, boats, and trailers, and we're thinking we could do the same, but our current insurance doesn't allow us to rent. What insurance should we look for, and how do you go about renting your stuff? Because I'm not comfortable with Craigslist.
Yeah, we definitely wouldn't do that. You don't want to post your car for rent on Craigslist. You'll never see that car again. But there's websites like Turo, and on Turo they'll cover the insurance. It's like Airbnb for car rentals. I'm sure they have one for RVs.
They got them for everything now.
They do.
After you were here last time and you left, somebody wrote in and reminded us they've got them for swimming pools. You can rent your swimming pool at your house.
Wow.
And they just, as long as they enter the backyard on their own, they rent it, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Whatever the Swimly, I think it's called. And they handle it. It's almost like anything you think you could rent out that you own, Google, how do I rent my
garage?
And then you'll get the website.
Storage facility right here.
Yeah.
Hello, Bruce. Go ahead.
I have a current house that I'm thinking about renting out and buying a new house, but I'm not going to be able to come up with 20% down payment for the new house. And I was wondering if there's a different style of loan that I can apply for where I wouldn't have to come up with 20%.
Yeah, great question. So this is the perfect way for you to buy your first investment property. You take your current home and you turn that into your investment property, okay? Then, since you're buying a brand new home for you to live in, you don't have to put 20% down anymore. You only need to put 5% down. So, and then you live in that house for a year, Then you go and you rent that one out, and then you buy another house, and you turn that one into your new primary. Now you only put 5% down again. So you can build up a rental portfolio by just turning your primary residences into your rental properties.
We're Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com. Couple more here. Emails rad@radradio.com. Oh, you're going to love this. This is from Carrie. Says, my son is 16 and wants to buy a duplex like you have recommended when he's 18.
All right.
Oh
This is our next Shelby.
I love this.
When Shelby retires, we'll have Carrie's son on to take his place. Says, we have him on a credit card to work on his credit. Will he have to have 2 years of full-time employment, or what else can or should he do?
Wow.
Call
Amazing.
Shelby right now.
So he will need a couple years of employment, but what you can do is you can always co-sign for your kids to buy them a house. If you co-sign for your kids, they don't even need a job as long as you can qualify. So it's a great avenue. Co-sign for your kids if they're going away to college. Co-sign with them. Have them buy a house, rent it out per room. We call that house hacking. Just rent the rooms out. The other room rents will 100% pay the entire mortgage.
We got here's a question. You've been here 30 minutes and we haven't even talked on this. I think it's the first time ever. Sarah, go ahead.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Oh, are you okay?
Sarah?
It's not working?
Oh, no, we can hear you.
We can hear you, Sarah. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes. I own my own first house, and I want to take out the equity in it to buy a second house to Airbnb it. Is that a good choice right now? Not in California, of course.
We used to, every time you were here, that's all we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, take out the equity, invest it, or improve your home, or buy a second house. Is now a good time to be doing that?
Yeah, right now
Always is a good time.
It is. And it's all numbers. So you can make an educated decision just based on breaking down the numbers. So what we do is we compare where's your current mortgage payment at compared to what your new payment will be. And then we look at, if you buy an Airbnb property, how much income will that generate? What is your new payment? What is your cash flow? So, yeah, we just break it down for you. We help you make an educated decision and make sure that it's going to be a good investment.
What is a 2-1 buy-down strategy?
Oh, man, this is a great loan. So right now, we're seeing the affordability kind of slip away because interest rates are higher. So what we discovered, we said, okay, this is a great loan product for people that maybe right now they want a lower monthly payment. So for myself, just had a new baby, and my wife is not working as much, right now. Well, what this 2-1 buy down allows you to do in year one, if your regular interest rate, say you're going to buy a house and your rate's 5%, in year one we'll allow you to pay a 3% rate. So in year one, your interest rate will be 2 points lower for just the first year. Okay. So that's going to lower your monthly payment by a lot.
That's more cash flow again.
Yeah. Now you brought the rate down from 5 to 3 for an entire year. Then in year two, it stages up to a 4% rate. Okay. So now we have affordable rates again. For this whole second year, it's a 4%. Then from the third year, it goes back to the 5%. And it'll be that way for the remainder of the entire term loan. It's still a fixed rate loan, okay? It's just allowing you to have a few years to, one, either be able to refinance if the opportunity comes up and rates dip, then you can refinance. Or two, maybe your position is going to be different in the next 3 years. So maybe you had a kid and your wife's going to be going back to work. Maybe your wife's in school right now and she's going to be done and then she'll be working. So it gives you 2 years to have a much lower monthly payment. And I think it's an awesome loan product.
Find them online at financewithshelby.com. You can follow them on Instagram at Shelby Elias. We got this note from Kyle. Says, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Joe from United Wholesale Lending. I'm 22 and I inquired about information on purchasing a home in the next 2 years. Even though Joe knew I wasn't purchasing soon, he took as much time as I needed to give me a step-by-step plan to do so.
Nice.
Awesome.
And Nicole just wrote in and said, I needed this inspiration today. I totally love Shelby's mindset and creativity. I totally vibe with it. I love every time he's on.
Awesome.
Great job, man. Appreciate it. Anything else you want to mention before we let you out of here?
Thankful for all you guys.
Oh, so sweet.
Right back at you, buddy. Shelby Elias from financewithshelby.com.